Hi and welcome back to my channel. So I'm excited about this week's coaching video, you guys, because we're going to be talking about 9 ways to silence your inner critic. And guess what? We all have one. And some of you experienced that inner critic probably just today. Some of you yesterday. And for the rest of you, it'll be tomorrow. We all have it. So a little self-criticism is a good thing. And it really is, right? It can be a reality check that spurs you to be a better person. But there is a vast difference between I need to work out more, which sparks your motivation, and I'm a jiggly blob. You see, there's a difference there, right? Excessive self-criticism tends to backfire because it leads us to focus on our so-called failures instead of the small ways that we could have improved. And this was said by psychologist Tamar Chansky, PhD, and author of Freeing Yourself from Anxiety. And over the long term, studies show self-trash talk, because that's really what it is associated with higher stress levels and even depression. So let's talk about some ways that we can stop doing that. Number 1, put negative stuff in a box. Okay, put it in a box. The next time a negative thought comes into your mind, take a deep breath and then quickly narrow it down and put your problems into the smallest box possible. Chansky says, if you think you screwed up in a meeting, instead of saying, I'm an idiot, I ruined my career, say, you know what, I used a poor choice of words. Visualizing that box can really help. Seeing a tiny box in your mind shows the actual size of the problem. It's a small problem. So y'all like to take small problems like this and make it into something like this, and it's not that deep, y'all. And so seeing a tiny box in your mind shows the actual size of the problem and helps you feel more confident that you can take it on. Number 2, try the power of possible thinking. We feel a lot of pressure to turn it all around and make it positive, Chansky says. But research has found that when you are down and out and force yourself to say positive things to yourself, you end up feeling worse. That's because our internal lie detector goes off. I mean, that alarm is going off like this, right? And she suggests a technique called positive thinking, which involves reaching for natural thoughts about the situation and naming the facts. I am a fat cow becomes I'd like to lose 10 pounds. I know how to do that. The facts give you a lot more choices and directions that you can go in. Number 3, ask yourself if you're really as guilty as you think. Let's say in a meeting you blurt out that your Spanx are too tight. And I don't know why anybody would do that, but you know, I'm pretty sure it's been done. You think, I've just made the biggest fool of myself. Challenge your version of the story. Did everyone really recoil in horror, or were most of them actually tapping on their Blackberries under the table? Make the choice to be kind to yourself by questioning your initial thoughts, which is key to slowing down that voice, says Amy Johnson, who's a PhD and psychologist and life coach. The more follow-ups you ask yourself, the more you dilute the shameful moment. Number 4, put a better spin on things. A simple semantic tweak can actually change your outlook, Chansky says. Instead of telling yourself, I am so disorganized, I'll never get anything done, train yourself to say, I'm having a thought that I'm not going to get it done. It may sound silly, but this little change in words give you distance and remind you that your low self-esteem moment is just that. It's a moment. It is a moment, you guys. Stop dragging it out into a 5, 10 minute, 1 hour, 24-hour thing. It's just a moment. And so, if you say, I always tell people that saying, boy, did I feel stupid, rather than I'm so stupid, may seem like a nuance, but there is a significant difference. Young adds, because the former describes how you feel, not who you are. So let's go back. When you say, I always tell people, so when you say, boy, did I feel stupid, rather than saying, I am so stupid, what she's saying is the former describes how you feel, not who you are, because you don't want to put those negative labels on who you are, because how you feel is not who you are. Moving right along. Number 5, ask yourself, what would my best friend say? A quick way to puncture nasty self-talk is to think of someone you trust and imagine what she or he would say to you, which is probably, oh please, was it really that bad? Did you really ruin your career in the meeting? Another rule, if you wouldn't say it to your friend, then don't say it to yourself. Let me say that again. If you wouldn't say it to your friend, your best friend now, then don't say it to yourself. You would never, at least, I like to think that you wouldn't, call your friend a total slob for dribbling tomato sauce on her blouse. You just wouldn't. Okay? So don't say it to yourself if you wouldn't say it to your best friend. Number 6, give your inner critic a name, preferably a silly one. It's hard to take your inner voice seriously when you call it the nag. Here comes the nag again. Now I have a coworker, you guys, and I'm not going to say who he refers to, but he has someone in his family he calls the north wind. And if you think about what a north wind is, then you understand why. So we can all laugh about it, and it doesn't make it as bad as it probably really is. So here comes the nag again. So, Brené Brown, PhD, a research professor at the University of Houston Gallaudet College of Social Work and author of The Gifts of Imperfection, calls hers the gremlin. Chansky prefers the perfectionist. Naming it something goofy adds a bit of levity, she says, which helps break through the emotional hold that anxiety has on you. Over time, this short circuits the whole anxious cycle. Number 7, give your rants a name too. Johnson likes to call these inner stories. Let me see. Jansen likes to call these inner hangerous stories. I'm sorry. I love calling some tirade the "my friends are better than me" story, or the "I don't get enough done" story, she says. Instead of feeling like it's some kind of a valid feedback, this highlights how consistent the stories are. We have pretty much the same thoughts today that we had yesterday, okay? Which should clue us into the fact that they're habits, not necessarily truths. So again, you've got to know what is a habit and what is actually truth. Number 8, pick up the phone. Shame only works if we keep it a secret, Brown says. So if I get in the car after a party and thought I said something stupid, she picks up the phone and says, okay, I'm in a total shame downward spiral. Here's what happened, she laughs. At that moment, you've basically cut shame off at the knees. So find the courage to do the counterintuitive thing and tell someone what happened. Invariably, those conversations end up with the laughter, and you'll find it's not as bad as you thought. Number 9, last but not least, embrace your imperfections. It's enormously freeing, not to mention a huge stress reducer, to stop holding yourself to insanely high standards. Perfectionism is so destructive, Brown says. And she's interviewed CEOs and award-winning athletes, and not once in 12 years did she ever hear someone say, I achieved everything I had because I am a perfectionist. Never, because you're not going to hear that. So what she hears instead, they credit their success to a willingness to mess up and move on. So relax your standards just a little bit. If you can give yourself some empathy, you'd show a friend, it would be so much easier to take on the nag and win. So, these are 9 ways to silence your inner critic, because I'm going to tell you something. What burns me up is when I hear someone that says, I am so stupid. I can't believe I did that. No, you're not stupid. You may have done something stupid, but you are not stupid. You see what I'm saying? So we've got to stop that inner nagging of ourselves. It's just horrible. I learned to stop doing that a long time ago. Okay, you know what, Michelle? That didn't go over very well, but that's okay. I can learn from it. I can now move on so I don't repeat that. So let me go over these really quickly, and I promise I'll let you be. Number 1, excuse me. Excuse me, guys. Number 1, put negative stuff in a box and make it the smallest box that you can find. No big boxes. Put it in a very small box to represent the fact that that thing that you thought was a big deal, it really isn't. Number 2, try the power of possible thinking. Number 3, ask yourself if you're really so guilty. Number 4, put a better spin on things. Number 5, ask what would my best friend say. Number 6, give your inner critic a name, preferably a silly name because it makes you laugh at it, and then you can move on and not, create toxic stuff in your body over something small and trivial. Number 7, give your rants a name as well. Number 8, pick up the phone. And number 9, embrace your imperfections, because we all have them. None of us are perfect. And I don't care how perfect you try to be, none of us are perfect. So that's all I have for you guys today. I love you guys to the moon and back. Thank you so much to my newest subscribers. Thank you so much to those of you that continue to support me and all that I do. I love you guys to the moon and back. And again, we're not perfect, so stop thinking that you have to be. Silence that inner critic that always wants to raise up and point out the things that you say and do that weren't the best things to say and do. I'm not going to necessarily say they were wrong. They just weren't the best things to do. Silence that inner critic. Put a lid on that. And when you feel it start to bubble up, say, stop right there. We're not doing this. Not today. Not today. I love me some Maxine Waters. Reclaiming my time. Reclaim your time that you spend to this negative inner critic that keeps trying to keep you down here when you're really trying to elevate yourself up here. Again, that's all I have for you guys this week. I love you to the moon and back, and we'll talk again soon.